Bienvenidos to Season 3 of Humans in Accounting podcast. In a world full of AI, automation, and endless workflows, we pause for a moment to focus on the real humans behind the numbers. Founders, leaders, humans share their journey, what drives them, and the moments that shape their path. Because behind every balance sheet, there's always a story worth telling. Humans in Accounting is brought to you by South Offices. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Humans in Accounting, where leaders and humans share their stories behind their spreadsheets. I'm Alex Roman, and this podcast is brought to you by South Offices, connecting accounting talent across borders. Today, I have the pleasure to have Chris Meyers, a partner at Welch LLP. Chris, I'm so happy you're joining to Humans in Accounting. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks a lot for having me. It's my first podcast.
Is that your first podcast? Well, I'm super happy that your first podcast is here with me. The truth is that we never met physically. We've been talking now for some time. I don't know when we started talking. Was it a year ago?
A year
Something
ago.
like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The truth is that we never met physically. Well, you're located in Canada.
Yeah.
You're close to Toronto, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes and no. So I'm located in Ottawa. It's the capital of Canada. Second biggest city in Ontario, which is the province that I'm in, and sort of halfway between Toronto and Montreal, just to kind of position things. And that's what people kind of recognize. Nobody knows where Ottawa is.
Yes. You know what? I only been once to Canada. I know when I say once, maybe I've been twice, but the two times I went, it was to Toronto. I was working, I don't know, with this client a million years ago. It was a city called Mississauga, I think. That it was close to Toronto. That I've been there a few
Yeah.
times.
So Mississauga, not to do a geography lesson for you, but so it's a city right beside Toronto, and it's part of what they call the Greater Toronto Area. So for a guy like me in Ottawa, Mississauga is Toronto, but for someone in Mississauga, Mississauga is Mississauga.
Right.
Everything's relative, right? And but yeah, that's a little bit of a geography lesson for you.
Thank you. I appreciate. For me, it's important just to learn something new every single day. So I appreciate that. And the truth is that now we are working together. So I need just to go and visit you. So you can show me around.
Hey man, you know what? We have freezing rain. It's March 31st, 2026 as we record this. It's been a long winter up here in Canada. And that's saying a lot, right? And today is like snowing and freezing rain. I'd rather be in Argentina right now. I can tell you that.
Right. Well, what is it? What is it a good time of the year just to like for me, for an Argentinian guy, just to go for the first time? What is the best timing you would say?
I love Canada. I love the fact that we have 4 seasons here. It sort of makes life interesting. If you're coming for the first time to Canada, do not come in the winter. Do not come in the winter. Come in the summer, come in the fall, get a taste of the outdoors a little bit. I mean, Argentina is a beautiful country, beautiful physical landscapes. Same with Canada. And, it's vibrant. People, because of the winter, people really tend to enjoy the summer, more than perhaps, others might, just because it's fleeting. It's only around for a little bit of time, right? So that would be the best time to come to Canada to visit. But, winter is fantastic too. It grinds on you. It drains you. Like this is the worst time of year. So basically, I think for Canadians, it's that sort of period of time between winter, the transition into spring. Winter doesn't seem to go away fast enough. Spring doesn't come soon enough. So it's like, this would be the worst time to come on on a visit, like a personal visit.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, because this is something that I noticed. 41. I'm 41.
Okay.
And I noticed that for the first time, we also have 4 seasons. I'm in Buenos Aires, in the capital of Argentina,
Right. Yeah.
and we just transitioned from summer to to autumn.
Okay. Yeah.
But is it fall or autumn?
Autumn. Yeah. Most people say fall, but autumn
All
works.
right, all right.
And
So,
we're-
and it's incredible. But we were talking the other day with my friends. Like, I just saw like how, like, I don't know. One day it was sunny and it was hot, and then the day that it started fall, suddenly now it's
yeah.
more chilly, and I can totally see the difference. Well, I don't know. It's important. I'll keep in mind. So I'll definitely go and visit you in summer or whenever
Please.
you tell me
You'd
it's
be more than welcome. Yeah. We're
perfect.
very welcome.
Chris, yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about your background. I'm curious. I genuinely don't know, like, how you ended up being a partner here at Welch LLP. That'd be great. So that we can know you a little
Sure.
bit better.
I mean, it's not that exciting of a story, I guess, but I mean, if people, if you're interested, Alex, sure, I'll tell you.
I am genuinely interested. Yes,
So
tell
I
me.
started, yeah, I mean, I started my career here at Welch as a student um, back in the late 90s. So you said you were 41. Since we're sharing ages, I'm 46. I'm about to turn 47. So I started working here when I was 19 years old as I was going into university. So I did like a first tour of duty, I guess, with Welch, and like I from '99 to around 2007. So 8 years, and I left the firm to pursue some different things. So I went to work with the Bank of Canada. It's the Central Bank of Canada. I don't know what the Argentinian central bank is.
Like that, a central bank of
Of
Argentina.
Argentina, yeah. So so I worked for the Central Bank of Canada for a couple of years, starting in '07 through 2010, or just yeah, to the end of 2009. And it was a great experience because it was during the global credit crisis. Like you might be, well, you're not too young to remember it, but you would have been pretty young in the
Yes.
sense of like, how, I don't, you probably wouldn't have been working at that point. Well, maybe you would have been. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But I spent a couple of years kind of learning the hard way about um, sort of being an accountant in crisis mode because believe it or not, there were sort of accounting implications at the central bank associated with that period of time, 2007 through '09. So I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I got an offer. I know I was getting in the weeds, but the Central Bank of Canada works closely with the government. It's independent, but there's a lot of like touch points.
Right.
So the Department of Finance, which is I'm trying to think of the equivalent like that people would understand, like the Treasury Department would probably be the
Right.
closest equivalent, like in a U.S. sense. Asked me to come over at the beginning of 2010 to work in their financial management function. And I went over there. I ended up being the chief financial officer of the Department of Finance. Um,
Okay.
for at the end of my time there, I think it was like 2 or 3 years where I was the CFO. I was the deputy CFO and a DG in different positions sort of there. And then I don't know if you're still awake, Alex, but I'll keep going because because
No,
then I
no,
went.
please go. Yes.
So that was an awesome. I think it was 8 years of my life, a fantastic experience, exposed to so many different things in the public finance realm. And you'd appreciate public finance in Argentina. And there's a lot of upheaval right now, in different things and happening in economics and that sort of thing. So I kind of got, you know, after 7 or 8 years in a position, you're kind of like, okay, like I don't want to try something new a little bit. So then I went over to our immigration department. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if anyone's watching this in the sense of trying to draw equivalencies, but basically it's the department in the government that processes like immigration, refugee applications, that sort of thing, temporary visitors, deals with in part passports and in the processing and issuance of passports and in the associated policy, with that. So I went there and I did all the financial functions there as a deputy CFO there. It was a bigger department in terms of people. And then the guys from Welch, I did that for 3 years. Another awesome experience. Made a lot of friends along the way there. Made a lot of friends at finance as well. So then 2 or 3 years into that, I got a call from Welch asking if, I guess, 10 or 12 years later, whether I wanted to come back to the firm. And it's just one of those things where time kind of takes its course on things, like, I don't know, Alex, if you've had different kind of career paths or experiences, but it just kind of happened right place, right time. I'd been in government for 12 years, and it was a great experience, but it, it grinds on you a little bit. So to
Right,
get out of the
right.
bureaucracy, get into, mm, get into the private sector again and come back and maybe try something new. So 6 years ago, I came back here. It was in 2019. And yeah, the rest is history. I guess we'll talk a little bit about what we do here at Welch later on, but that's kind of how I ended up here and back, as it were.
Incredible. So actually, Chris, like your first job, the first job was Welch a
Yeah.
few years
Yeah.
ago. Like the first one when you were starting.
Well, yeah, like my first job was, I mean,
Right.
if you really want to do that deep of a dive, was working in oh my God, it's like a convenience store. My God, like
Okay.
I started working when I was 15 years old in a convenience store in the town that I grew up in. And my first accounting job, I was 16. I worked at a small local accounting firm. So I've been doing accounting for like 30 years, like it's insane.
Incredible, incredible. But I'm fascinated that well maybe you had those but the first, let's say, formal job was actually Walt, where you
With
stood there
Welch, yeah.
for a few years. Then you had all this experience working in government and in the bank and all those places, and then back to it's like you're
Back to Welch.
closing the circles.
Full circle, as they say, like, don't burn bridges on your way out. Like, I left in a good way, and I came back maybe hopefully in a good way. So, yeah, it's like you maintain those relationships throughout your career. I mean, if anyone's listening to this looking for advice, I mean, a lot of advice is common sense and maintaining those relationships and networks. It's called humans in accounting. I mean, my God, like those relationships, it's not just accounting, but they pay dividends. You invest in them and you get a return on that investment, and I've been very lucky to come up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Welch. I know we know you guys, but to tell us a little bit about yes, like do you work with a specific type of clients? What are the services that you provide? Maybe someone in the future
Sure.
watching this that it's in the same city and say, hey, maybe Chris can help me out with doing bookkeeping or with doing this or that. To tell us a little bit about what I know a little bit, but I want you to tell a little bit about what.
I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. I'll try to make it as exciting as I possibly can. But at the end of the day, Welch it's an accounting firm. So
Right.
it's a full service accounting firm. We're based in Ottawa and Toronto, and we have about 12 offices throughout Ontario, which is the province I'm in, which going back to the beginning of our conversation. Um, it's a full service accounting firm, so we like to think that we're not too big, but we're not too small either. So we do the full gambit of service offerings here at the firm, be it your traditional audit and assurance type work, tax compliance. We do tax planning. We have a US tax group that does personal corporate planning and compliance. We have, like, I can go on. I mean, we have my group, which we call CAS, or Client Accounting Services, which is
Hmm.
typically bookkeeping. I call it financial operations. That's the government in me, and that's what it is. It's financial operations. The way we're structured, we're really integrated in with teams. We do virtual CFO, virtual controller, consulting, advisory. Trying to think. I'm sure I've
Okay.
missed a few things, but
No, no,
it's
no,
what we
that's
do.
okay. And Chris, do you work with a specific niche, a specific type of clients, a type of
Yeah.
industry?
So yeah, like in terms of what I do at the firm, I'm in charge of the client accounting services business line. So that includes your financial operations. We brand it, and sometimes you'll see it in the marketplace as Elevate, which is just a branded term for our bookkeeping group. So that's something I focus a lot on, and also our virtual CFO practice, which is part of that client accounting services label. But I also do tax. I do a little bit of tax, a little bit of audit. It's not a growth area for me personally. I've chosen to focus on CAS, but I've got an excellent kind of packet of clients that I like to, or not I like to, well, I do like to work with them and on them, but
Right.
in the audit and assurance space, I maintain sort of an inventory of clients that I do work on just to kind of stay current and be exposed to that side of the business. So that's sort of what I do. And I do a lot of consulting, like traditional management consulting. So given my background, I do a lot of like risk management work, risk identification management, financial risk quantification, governance reviews, internal controls review, like all that stuff. I'm sort of a jack of all trades here, I guess. That's
Okay.
something to joke is kind of like, well, if we can't figure out how to do it, well, we'll just ask Chris to do it. And then and some of it works and some of it doesn't, in terms of it being a scalable kind of business. But CAS, client accounting services, has been something that we've had a lot of success with, and that's kind of, I think that's basically how we kind of started working together.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris, let me ask you a question because, well, now 2026, each day we woke up and suddenly there's a new AI platform that is challenging all our jobs, and we're gonna say, hey, how is this gonna be like in the next week or in the next 6 months or in the next year? I wanted to ask you, and this industry that it's driven by numbers, and from your experience, how important do you think? Like, I understand that you do like calls, and the human part is it's important. How important do you think that the human relationship with clients is now in April 2026? Is it important? It's not. They just want to have the numbers. I'm curious to know what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that.
it's a I get that question a lot, or variations of that question, whether it's
Right.
sort of the context of artificial intelligence or, just the nature of human relationships. The answer is like you might be disappointed, but like it depends. It just depends on the client. It depends on what their needs are. I mean, I think I can tell you that like the differentiator, I think, in our industry going forward will be that human factor. And maybe it always has been, but people will say, well, bookkeeping is a commodity or audit is a commodity. Okay. If that is true, which I don't know if I necessarily agree that it is, but let's just take it for granted that it is for a second for the purposes of this conversation, then your differentiation will be how you deliver on that commodity.
Right.
Well, and it can be interpersonal sort of relationships, the flair, or kind of like the style that you have in terms of how you communicate with clients, the openness and transparency in communications. I talk a lot with our bookkeepers. We have about 40 folks on our team now. And we really the aspiration is that we want to empower our financial operations team to have those relationships, first of all, but also be a little vulnerable. And what I mean by that, I know it sounds like, what are you talking about? Vulnerable? Like we're not dating here. Like it's bookkeeping, right? But no,
Hmm.
it's being willing to ask kind of stupid questions or what you perceive to be stupid questions, right? There's a
Right.
tendency, I think, in our industry that, you don't want to be seen to be not have the answer, right?
Right.
Ultimately, we're paid to have the answer. I get it. I understand that, right? But that vulnerability in how we interface with clients, asking them questions about sort of why their business is performing the way it is, maybe providing a little bit of advice, on something, that you've noticed, but maybe you're not 100% sure whether it's right, but kind of opening up that kind of conversation. That's where the magic happens, I think, like in client relationships, because then it becomes less this, I'm a professional kind of, here's my output. And I'm actually like I'm a partner. I'm a friend in many cases. And, you're not going to get that with every client relationship. You're not, in the same way that you're not going to get that in every human relationship. But I think that's what you need to kind of aspire to, like in account. I've been doing accounting for 30 years, so I don't really know necessarily other industries or how it works. I haven't been coding in my basement or whatever, but like I think that's really kind of where the magic happens in these kind of relationships in our industry.
I agree with that, and I would take it like a step further. I think that it also it's going to happen in other industries. Again, obviously, it's going to depend on some clients. Some clients are going to say, "Hey, no, just send me the results. I mean, whatever I'm paying you to do, I'm expecting this, and that's it." But I think that little by little, as we move towards 2050,
Yeah.
people, human beings, we're going to appreciate that more. The other day I was watching, I'm not even sure where I watched this thing that I'm going to quote that I don't know the where this quote is coming from, but like from doctors, like we as humans, we're going to value more instead of the actual operation that an actual human being, it's going to tell you and empathize with you and tell you, hey, you know what, this is, or just give you in the shoulder, like, hey, everything is going to be fine. We're gonna appreciate those things more and
Yeah, well,
more.
I I think you're right. And one benefit that I have maybe of having a long career and still a career to go, like who knows, maybe another 20 years, or I'll probably never stop working in some way, but is that I've seen how relationships have changed in our industry over 30 years. So when I first started, everything I just said, like, nobody would ever tell you that. Like, it was just like,
Exactly.
you know, so, I mean, we're all still human back then and we all crave kind of relationships but it's different now. I'd say there's generational differences in our industry in terms of the clients just as much as there are the accountants. I'm working here. I'm just looking on my email here on the side and I'm seeing, emails come in from clients that are a little bit more on the younger side, in their early 30s, they've started businesses. They've been successful. There's this entrepreneurial kind of culture, I think, that undertone in those younger generations that is different. And my relationship with those people is a lot different than a relationship with, like, let's say somebody who's like 50 years into kind of, it doesn't mean it's a better relationship or a worse relationship. It's just the interaction has to be different. I find with folks in their 20s and 30s, it's more like it's more volume, but
Right.
smaller, like quick, transactional, and then all those transactions sort of like culminating in, um, hopefully, a good, solid overall relationship. Whereas, like with some of those older clients, it tends to be a little bit more kind of maybe like fewer sort of interactions, but the interactions that we do have are much more all encompassing and broader. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't know if
It
that's
does.
anything to that, if that's a generational thing or just something that I seem to be experiencing, but I do think it's very real, at least in
Yeah,
my mind.
I agree. And again, I think this does not only something that it's happening in accounting, something that I'll tell you from my experience, you know, or I don't know if you know, but in my case, I'm kind of new to industry for the last 3 years now. But all my life, I've been working in tech.
Okay.
And something I realized when I started working here in accounting is that this was 3 years ago, that I felt that, I don't know, everyone in the accounting industry was so open, maybe just to share their experience and tell, like, even other accounting firms that maybe I would consider in another industry as competitors, like being open and saying, hey, you know what? I had a good experience working with this, and this is a good event to go to. No, I have not been so good working with this type of clients, and sharing and social media and in person events, something that I thought like, whoa, this is incredible. This industry.
It's
That was something that I don't know. It shook
It's
me
an
for the
interesting
first time.
observation, and it's great to hear it from you, someone who'd been on the outside. Like, I don't know, like, as I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, so it's like my algorithm is like accounting focused, right? So I just I see accounting algorithm, but it is quite a healthy community, like in terms of sharing experiences and challenges and tips. And I does it happen in other industries? I have no idea, but if you were kind of struck by it, that's an interesting observation.
For sure, I can tell you that at least in tech, maybe. maybe this has now changed and now all the industries are like this, which am having some doubts, or some other industries are, it's taking a little bit longer just to realize this. I don't know, all these possibilities are possible, but yeah, I felt that in other industries, like, they, if they had something that it was working for them, they didn't want just to share it with
Yeah,
anyone
yeah,
else,
that's
because
right. Yeah.
they want to just keep it for themselves. Here, well, that's the first thing that I was kind of surprised. Let me change topics, and this is something that it has to do with me. I don't know. For me, it's things that are important for me. I don't know. I'm a sports person. The humor is really important for me just to live a life, and also for me, it's important just to eat really good food. So I'm gonna change subjects and ask you, Chris, a really direct question that it has nothing to do necessarily with accounting. And the question is, what's your favorite food?
Two favorite foods. I mean, they're not really that interesting though. I mean, it's going to be obvious. It's pizza's number one.
Okay.
Pizza's
Yes.
now a lifelong favorite. We have, every city has their own little pizza subculture. Ottawa
Right.
has their own as well, believe it or not. Yeah, there's specific like Ottawa style pizza. I think technically it's called like Greek style, which is basically, how could I describe a Greek style pizza? Basically just dumping all kinds of toppings and cheese. Like it's not thin crust. It's not like New York style. It's just sort of very heavy kind of cheese toppings, that sort of thing. So I love Ottawa pizza. I always have loved Ottawa pizza and I always will. And it's something that goes back to my dad. My dad loves to eat too. And so yeah, I enjoy a good pizza on a Friday night if I'm kind of feeling like it. I mean, the other food is like, and you'd appreciate this as an Argentinian, is of course steak. I mean, come on, you gotta steak is right up there. I'd say like pizza and steak, but it's like they're not like one is not better than the other. It's sort of like it just depends on the vibe, the mood, right? So if
On the mood, exactly.
yeah, if I'm feeling a little bit classy, if I'm feeling classy on a Friday night, like maybe I go with a nice bottle of wine and a nice rib steak, or maybe I could do it at home or out at a restaurant. Those are kind of my top two, I guess. And I'm sure there's
Okay.
more. I love to eat. What about you?
Mine, it's asado. Asado, it's like the Argentinian thing that it's like a barbecue. But for us,
Okay.
it's like, it's more than just it's everything. It's like getting together with a family and friends, and
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
going for lunch, and maybe we stay 5 hours, and someone that's gonna be cooking, that's the asador, and it's gonna start with maybe drinks and something, and then different type of cuts and wine and everything. So yeah, asado is definitely my
It's the
best food,
process.
and I can,
Yeah.
what's
It's
that?
the process that matters, right? It's the act of going, getting together with friends, firing up the grill, taking time. You're not in a rush. That is the best experience, and you don't get that all the time. So I
Yes, 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 definitely. But well, on top of everything, that the experience is super nice, and that's something that we value. Then the meat itself, it's also really
yeah, the
really
food is
good.
awful good too. Yeah.
Then if you ever come to Argentina, I really enjoy pizza, and here we have I don't know, a type of pizza. It's personally my favorite. It's called the fugaceta, and the fugaceta, it's with tons of cheese, like a ridiculous amount of cheese and onion, and it's really really good.
Sounds good.
Well, if you happen just to be here, I'll invite you to my favorite pizzeria. Thank you for answering that question. I'm pretty sure that pizza. I've been asking all the guests here at Humans in Accounting what's their favorite food. I think pizza must be in the top three,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's everywhere.
Yeah. Let me ask you plans for the future. Welch, what are the plans for the future? I understand that you're growing. At I don't know. Tell
Yeah, I mean,
me.
yeah, I mean, as a firm, we're focused on growth. I think and all my partners, my business partners, we're very bullish on sort of our industry, our firm. Um, accounting as a language, it's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And, I'm we're we're bullish that it'll be around for a while longer too. So, the future for us from a personal level is really growing this client accounting services business line and continuing to grow it. You've been a key part of that, Alex, and we do enjoy working with you and your team. I think bookkeeping's got a bad rap. That people don't understand what bookkeeping is. And bookkeeping is where the rubber hits the road. That's why I call it financial operations. It's the heartbeat of your business. And the opportunity to work on that with clients and interface with clients is energizing. So, my take is that's kind of where I'll be focusing certainly over the next, probably the remainder of my career because I still got a long way to go. But 5, 10 years forward, that's kind of where I see myself sitting and working on. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about the future. I think it's a great time to be in accounting. I think it's the best time that I can remember to be in accounting. So I'm looking forward to the next 5, 10 years.
I agree. I agree. I agree with that. Let me ask you a last one. This is one of the personally I like asking this question to every guest because I learn something new. Maybe someone in the future is watching this podcast while they're driving or while they're running or they're doing something else with an Excel sheet or whatever. Um, and maybe they're considering, they're working in the company and they're considering opening their own business or starting a firm. I want to ask you, what's an advice you could give someone maybe starting I don't know, a business or deciding or maybe what's a good advice that you can give, Chris, the younger version of yourself when you started working at a Welch like then a few years ago? What's a good advice that you could give
Yeah.
that Chris?
Yeah, the younger version of myself. It's funny.
Yes.
I got a lot of young people work with me and on my team, and I'd probably give two pieces of advice. The first is it takes time to build resiliency, and so when you're starting off, you're going to have some dark, dark days. You're going to have some challenging files. This is not just accounting; it could be in anything. And I think it's like to recognize that if I had recognized back then sort of where I would be if I kind of kept at it, I think I would have had just a lot more kind of vision in terms of like where I was going, and maybe a lot of more comfort in those uncomfortable moments. So that's a more of a personal kind of advice. Like on the business side, I mean, God, there's so much advice one could give to starting a business. I've started this client accounting services thing here in Welch, a business within a business. And I'd say the best thing we ever did early on was figure out what our scaling model was going to be. Like we literally invested time in coming up with formulas and a structure about how we were going to grow and how we were going to identify when we needed to grow. And that's really important because the Welch is known and accounting firms rely very much on the quality of their work and the quality of their outcomes. So getting that, it's like we don't get it always exactly right because you can never get it bang on. But if you have kind of a consistent kind of formula that you're relying on testing and then validating for outcomes and outputs, it can be very powerful. It gives you a level of confidence that yes, this is the point in time in which we need to invest in more people or what have you. So I'd spend time trying to figure that out. And, I don't know if you want to overthink it because then all of a sudden you'll be overtaken by events. But that's something that we did early on. And I'm grateful to this day that we did it because otherwise I'm not sure we would have been able to grow as fast as we have.
That's super important. I think that it's like the two parts, like executing it's super key, but then having just be able just to plan and say, hey, all right, and then be able just to measure, all right, this is working, this is not working, we need just to put more emphasis here or not so much there. Those are things that are actually anything else.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's powerful advice. Chris, it was super nice having you. I'm super glad that we were able just to make this episode of Humans in Accounting. If people wanna reach out to you, what's the best way just to
Yeah, yeah, LinkedIn, or
LinkedIn?
if you want to find me through our website, it's www.welchllp.com, welchllp.com, and you can find me there. And I'd be happy to chat with anyone about their business, or maybe looking into getting into a career in accounting. I love talking to people, as you can probably tell. Geez, we're 40 minutes in, Alex, so it's like I could go on and on. I'm a chatty kind of guy, so I'm happy to talk shop with people anytime.
Like, that's great. I'll make sure that when we post this episode, I'll leave a link so that people can reach out to you directly. Chris, it was super nice having you. Well, hope to see you. Hope to see you soon. All right.
All right, me too.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Alex.